Hello everyone, and welcome to the Deepbluerenegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deepbluerenegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 199. Today is Sunday, September 10th, 2017, and I'm glad you could join me today. It's super duper gorgeous out. I checked the weather so that I would actually have something quantitative. So it's 83, and there's a nice breeze, and apparently it feels like 81, and I could believe that. So it seems like I brought the lovely weather back with me. So yay! I didn't bring the beach though. Well, maybe a little bit. There might be some sand in the bottom of my bag. So a little bit stowaway. But, so I guess I'm starting with whips because it was on my lap. But this is how far I am now into the Rock the Casbah. I just finished chart 7 and I was getting into chart 8. So, not too crazy. Would be, interestingly enough, it doesn't have like a little beaded area before it launches into the pattern, so whatever. The beaders are super annoying, and I lost my super floss, and so it's okay. I don't know where it went. I don't know, it's probably on the floor, so some hotel room now. But so I got my markers back into it, and now this has like a 16 row repeat instead of an 8 row repeat, and that's fine. So coming together. I don't remember, so there are 11 charts in this pattern. I'm not sure that all of them are going to have this on it, but we'll make it work. So, at the very least I started. So I think the next part of the motif is that you have sort of the boxes coming back together the other way, I guess. Or that there's this like center, whatever. The center block, I guess. I'm not sure if I'm repeating it or not, or repeating it again or not. So, not too crazy. The mosaic's going well. Seems like everything's coming together nicely on this one. But it's okay. So this is a Cindy Garland pattern. It's called Rock the Casbah. There we go. I knew I was reading something. And then the yarn is from Stunning String Studio, which is her husband. I forgot his first name, but whatever. The other Garland. And then this is in the Blue Calypso and London Fog color. I guess I could show it closer. That would be a value add, right? And then I have all of my SSK stitch markers on it because this was one of my SSK projects. Of course, I'm still at work. I know. You want like all this fresh knitting for a retreat, and then it turns into your like long-term knitting for months. Jeez. And I'm keeping it in a bag my mother-in-law gave me that is super cute. She's pretty thoughtful. But such is life. I didn't work on the socks at all. Could have, might have been interesting. May have saved me some money, who knows, but it didn't happen. So, I don't know. Perhaps we'll see. If I get started in the chart, I think it'll go. I don't know whether or not I want to finish the shawl first before it or not. I don't know. The shawl is like a little bit cumbersome right now, but not terrible. Okay. I did finish something on the beach. And then I was struck by actually how much like the beach it looked like, so I had to take a picture. I thought I'd gone all the little ends, but maybe not quite all of them. And that's from my bag. So I finished my Boxy. So this is the V-neck Boxy. It is a Hokey Locatelli pattern. It's been crumpled in my bag for a few days. But I did wear it as a beach cover-up. I did what was it? Get a little bit of use out of it on my little trip, so that's cool. I bound it off Wednesday, and then I spent probably a decent time, like Thursday night, weaving in all of the little stray ends, because I did have, like, I don't know, I had bunches of ends, because 9 different balls of yarn, and then having to break yarn and that sort of thing. So, not quite sure where the right spot is, or I guess it's just as far as you can make it go. It's like I'm adjusting this poorly. Oh, that's because it's a little fun in the back. So, as you can sort of see, it's actually can like cover my knees, though I don't think I would want to do that. And then it has the big sides, but then it's you still have curves when your arms are down, if that makes any sense. And it is the perfect length. Good coverage there, so I'll be able to wear it with leggings. I will need to wash and block it, but I wasn't too worried about that. And this is like such a different sweater than I've ever knit before, so. But I think overall it does look nice. It's very drapey. I like the cool things that the knit fabric does with the stripes. I find that to be fun. The stripes are my own addition though, so whatever. I think that's part of what made it nice. And then I have, I ended up, the only modification was that I did actually do a different length split hem. So it's a little bit longer in the back than the front. I don't know if that was a good design choice or not, but I did it. I'm not undoing it. So we're just gonna roll with it. So should be good. I'll maybe wait a little bit longer before I break out the leggings for this one, but I think it should be a good wearable piece overall. And it is comfy, so would it be? It's my first not wool sweater. It's my first like positive ease sweater. And I'm glad it's done, because that was a long project. This project was started for SSK knitting, and so in September I finally finished it off. But that's probably about right for like when it's like time to wear sweaters again. It seems plausible, right? So, not too crazy. So I am pretty happy with how it turned out overall. We'll see if there are other places where I can use it, because I was surprised with how nice it was for a beach cover-up. So that was like that was pretty cool, because I don't think I would have normally thought to do that, but because it's like cotton, linen, the nettle, and the silk, it really is a pretty light fabric, all things considered. So this is out of Plymouth Yarn's Nettle Grove. It is a Hohi Locatelli pattern, the V-neck Boxy. I did appreciate being able to have this be top down, because I don't think I would have been modifying quite so freely had it been bottom up. And I still have some yarn left, so I did get probably the perfect amount in the end. So I have definitely way less than half a skein of the sandcastle, and then not very much left of the purple parrot either. So definitely more of the blue than this one. And I don't think I would have wanted to put in another striping sequence. I don't think. So, but I have been wearing around actually with my little progress keeper in there. So when I last spoke to you guys, it was here. So really, it wasn't too much more left to go on the sweater anyways. So not too shabby. And definitely helpful to have a progress keeper in there to figure out what was going on. So, it is done. I may white a little bit before washing and blocking this one. So, it shouldn't be too terrible. And then be like, that's the funny part about it. So, I think overall it turned out pretty nice. I'm glad I didn't have like a more cropped version. I don't think that would have looked as nice on me. So, and good visual interest at the top of me, which I think is one of those good, or something that looks the best on me, is to have all the stuff. What is it? Showing off my features. So this will get put away for a little while, but not too much longer, especially if the weather stays nice like it has been, so not too shabby. Okay, but it was lovely to be knitting on the beach and then go stick your toes in the water for a little while and then go back to knitting. What would it be? Much nicer in the evening than the the mid-morning. So, but that was just the case of I didn't necessarily have anything to provide shade. So, would it have been nice? Yeah. Did I pack anything for that? No. What was that? I sort of like the whole idea of a little pup tent thing that people have, and then you can just like fold it all down, you can fold it all down and then you have like instant shade wherever you are, and then you just like fill the bags with sand to keep it in place. So I thought that was a pretty decent idea. So it's like a massive cicada. But what was it? I haven't really visited the beach a lot since I started to become a knitter, so it was pretty lovely. So I found a place in the mid-morning that had shade from like the lifeguard stands that they had like pulled to the side, and so I stayed for about as long as my shade lasted, and then it was like super duper exposed because like after you cross whatever West Coast, so after a certain point in the afternoon it's just all sun all the time, so I wasn't quite prepared for that. But it was lovely. The other thing was that the mid-morning one I ended up like going like farther in the water and getting like completely wet, and then like after a couple of waves like a 5-foot one came and just like totally knocked me down. It was like, I don't want to drown. I shouldn't be this far into the water. So I don't know. My knee is like a little bit scraped up. Someone who was nearby who also got bowled over by the wave like had like a massive like scratch on the side of her, like, you know, like nasty rug burn style thing. It was like, this is nice, but I needed a more protective cove than where I was. Well, such is life. Now there's let's see, what should I talk about now? So what I have sitting here is from some of my dyeing experiments. I had some time last weekend to implement some of the dyeing experiments because it was a long weekend, so that was nice. And of course, this is just like some sort of like hot giant mess. So this was some of my I may as well use it fiber. If that makes any sense. So it was a case where I don't think I used enough vinegar in my bath, and I ran out of vinegar. And so what I ended up doing was taking some undyed fiber, and which was actually hand spun, and just throwing it in the extra dye liquor that I had from my original dyeing experiment. So all of these turned out this sort of like light teal color, which is just from the leftovers of the dye itself, so nothing too crazy. So this was, I think, some thick and thin samples from my Sarah Anderson spinning class. And then this was some mohair locks that I coarse spun onto probably some Zephyr. And this just looks pretty crazy. Very soft and very fluffy, and I still have some of the mohair left to go on these guys. But they're also maybe not taking the dye quite as much as the other one, but then again, I think the more you spin something, the easier it is to take dye. And then what I did with this guy, so this is actually my first wheel spun yarn. I believe it's some Romney, and I think I have most of it here. So you'll see that there are whiter sections and more teal sections. There we go. And so what I ended up doing was it was caked up, and I just threw it into the dye bath as a cake. And so what ends up happening when you do that is the dye will strike on the outside, and maybe like a little bit on the top and bottom, but then the inside will remain fairly undyed. And so what you can do, actually a cool thing that you can do, is wind it one way, dye it, and then wind it the other way, and then dye it, and then you'll have like a gradient that moves back and forth from the colors. But in this case, it was just that very, very faint teal color. So I didn't decide to add more dye to this particular bath. But such is life. So what ends up happening is that it's pretty, you can sort of see there, a subtle little gradient going closer. There we go. So maybe not my normal color since I don't tend to do the pastels, but it was a fun way to use up some dye that was going to not get used otherwise. I haven't shown you my bright red skeins, but like forgot to grab them. Well, like I went upstairs to grab these. So that was just fun things to go try and see how dyed I could make something from like the leftovers. But fairly faint, so it's definitely that teal color for sure. So not too shabby. And then this is probably slightly better than my second hand spun. that was worse for some reason. So, but what was I originally dyeing? I was originally dyeing some fleece. Did I think to include the sample in the bag? No, of course not, because I'm silly. So I started dyeing, what was it? My fleece that I got in 2014. So I got it at the fiber event in Greenwood, Indiana. I got it from a shepherdess from Wisconsin, so Psalm 23 fiber. And then what I ended up doing was breaking Wilton's food coloring on it. So Wilton's has these like gel dyes that you can pick up at Michael's or whatever, and some of the colors are notorious for breaking, and that was exactly what I wanted to do. So this totally doesn't look like the right color at all. like this looks teal right now, right? It's really purple, I swear. I don't know. That's totally defying color right now. But this is sort of like a periwinkle sort of color. Don't know that I intended to make periwinkle. Whatever. I think I would have to make a much stronger dye bath to get it to do that. But so this is sort of, roughly speaking, what the colors look like when you have it partially mixed. So this is all of my carding waste, or my combing waste, that I'll probably end up carding. And then this, or these are some of my home tops. that I've made so far. That's so weird. I'll have to take photos. I probably have taken photos, but so it'd be the case where it's what ends up happening is you end up getting quite a lot of mixing of colors. So there's like little subtle bits of like the teal and the purple and the pink in it, but it isn't the primary color that it comes across. But you can definitely see it, certainly in the sunlight, how like you get this very subtle mixture of color that I can't show you. Maybe in direct sun, but there is no more direct sun in the backyard. So far I've made 4 little balls of the comb top, but I still have quite a lot of the fiber left, and so then after showing you all of the other pieces, this is the fiber. So I have like bright pinks and turquoise, and none of these colors are coming across except for the turquoise. So maybe it actually is like legit violet. That's so weird. Like this section right here, definitely pink. Definitely. It's not even coming up at all. It's so weird. But, oh well. So, when I combine them all together, the pink and the teal make a purple color. And the hope was to get some very saturated, crazy colors with this. And so I sort of speckled the dye everywhere to maximize the breaking. And then I'm just combing my little balls. So, but what would it be? The thing was that I wanted within a given like strand of fiber many colors to be there so that it would make a very complicated single when I spun it, because it was dyed in the wool. So that's sort of where I was going for with that one. What I'll probably, but then after I finished dyeing all of this, I found another bag. So the bag that I had intended to use for my spin the bin was on top of my fiber, or whatever, my little yarn shelf. So I'm gonna have to go through and dye things some more before continuing. I do have equal amounts of the right amount of dye to finish it off, because I guess I'd somehow broken things up funnily for some reason. But yeah. So I have a nice big bag of all of this crazy stuff, and really, it isn't blue. So I decided to take the color that I was least excited about, the dark gray, and just make the really crazy pants broken dye with it. And I'll be able to do that with the other half, the other part as well. And then I'll be combing them into, what is it? Little tops. Then, what is it? I'll probably pick one color for dye breaking and then another. So I'll do all of one color and all of the other color for the other 2 shades of fleece that I have. And then I'll spin them all together to make like a marled 3-ply. So that should be fun. It'll be a nice, probably sweater spin sort of thing. Aiming for probably fingering weight or lighter, because that's what I use. So, in spinning then, because we just had like this random dyeing section, I have still been spinning the Julie Spins. I am pretty close to being done. And I suppose in the grand scheme of things, this is fairly blue, but definitely purple too. So I am almost done. I didn't weigh it before coming out, but you can see how I'm filling up the bobbin as I go. I could balance things properly, so shouldn't be too crazy. So I still have some of this bright pink and lighter purple over here, but from here on out it's all very dark and saturated, which is cool. I also started a new project, a new travel spinning project, because there will be some travel coming up. And what I decided to go with was my Julie Spins, my Greenwood Fiberworks, 50% merino, 50% yak. So this is, I split it up for fractal. I spun it for a little while and then decided that the whole braid was just a little bit unwieldy for me for spindle spinning. So I did 4 small balls. Let's see if I can find all my small balls. So I have 4 small balls, and then I have 1 large ball, so that should have lots of cool color mixing. The colors in this, there's like a hot pink, a gold, a green, sort of a purple, sort of a tealy blue, and maybe like a little bit of orange in transitions. So maybe not strictly speaking all of, like definitely all jewel tones, but probably not my usual color aesthetic. But I think they'll all mix nicely together. And then this is how much spinning I've gone and done on it. I went through a tealy section and some of the green section before deciding that I probably needed to change my plan. And this fiber gets everywhere. It's very floofy. So I'll have to, like, it catches on every single edge. So I'm using my Jerry Brock spindle, the new elephant one, and getting used to it. There isn't actually too much that you need to get used to on this guy. But hopefully I can, I don't know, the hope would be that I'd be able to fit a whole ply on, but we'll see. I'm almost to a yellow section now, which is sort of exciting. So let's see if I can spin a little bit on this guy. So it has my little elephants. That'll be covered up fairly soon. But not too crazy. So had I been a little bit more patient, maybe I would have done a little bit more airport spinning yesterday, but I was, what is it, you know, the point of the trip when you're like, I'm done. So I should have spent some more time at the beach, but sunburning. I know, I didn't manage to get any tan at all, which is perfectly fine. That's probably one part of the beach life that I don't mind. But what it meant was that I showed up at the airport way too early and felt very silly that I was then inside this air-conditioned, hermetically sealed place. You're like, gah! But Dallas is pretty beautiful right now too, so I guess it's not all bad. So, would it be tremendously happy with how beautiful the weather's been. So, would it be? I am enjoying spinning with the Jerry Brock spindle. It's nice and balanced. It's, would it be? Has a long enough spin for my purposes, and it's definitely much nicer working with a smaller chunk of fiber. So this is me adding on to my initial spin from here. So I think part of that was just you have to have the right setup for keeping everything contained. So, should be pretty happy overall. And what I find very interesting is like all of the different like shades and tones that the singles are picking up. So it's definitely a very I don't know, I guess that it does come off a bit variegated in the braid itself, but or tonal or that sort of thing, but it definitely shows quite a bit in the singles. So should be good. Getting back in the swing of spindle spinning. I guess the cicada is going nuts now. So yeah, no, I definitely like working with less of this at any given time. So I'm glad I broke that up. Yeah, it'll be fun to do a little bit of fractal spinning. Okay. So, looks like we turned off here, but bring it all the way in. So, yeah, I think you can sort of get a sense for how subtle this fiber is, so it should be interesting. And then I can just stick it back in the hole. But definitely one of the ones where I want something to keep the fiber nice and separated, because I want to use as much of it as possible. So that was, I got enabled into that one, so maybe I could find some way to incorporate that into a cal of some sort. Specifically, what was it, the friendship cal, because whatever, my friend Lindsay's like, buy this! Like, it's like, but you don't spin. No, you should buy it. Sort of like how, what was it? I bought this with my friend Jody. And bought this because it was a part of a completely twisted and arbitrary sale. It was like all of my projects are that. And what was it? I bought my sweater yarn with my friend and Jerry, so I guess we're just easily enabled. This one's probably all my fault. That was my own silliness. But I think that's everything. I should be able to record next week. Nothing exciting happening then. It won't be till, what would it be? The only problem, or the only bizarro time that I think is coming up is actually whatever, October. So October might be disrupted. So, what would it be? I'll have, like, I know for a fact I'm not going to be recording. I don't know, unless, I think I'm getting back later for Rhinebeck, so. But that is tremendously exciting. I'll have to finish plotting with my friend as to what cool things that we can do while we're there. That one's coming up fairly quick. I'm excited about that one. Should be good. It was like, mine went off to a different place there. So, I think I'm going to spend an hour or so enjoying the beautiful weather. Not that I haven't already been doing that, but more time, more good. And then make dinner. So, we're having tacos, so it should be good. Now I'm out of coffee, so I'm going to have to make some coffee too. So, with that, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. So, take care, guys. Bye-bye.